having discussed the meaning of gross domestic product in general terms, let's be more precise about how this statistics is measured. Here is the definition of GDP on this slide. And what is that? GDP is the market value of all final goods and services produced within a country in a given period of time. This definition might seem simple enough, but in fact many subtle issues arise when computing an economy's GDP. Let's therefore consider each phrase in this definition with some care. Let's start with this highlighted part, the market value. You have probably heard the adage, you cannot compare apples and oranges, and it's true for GDP calculation too. Let's clarify it with a sample. There is a country A, and let's say it produces 100 oranges and 100 apples. Okay, and country B, this is orange, this is apple, and let's say country B is producing 150 oranges and 50 apples. Very simplified model. So what you can do is you can count the number of items that each country produce. So here 200 units of fruits are produced. Here is 200 units of fruits are produced. You cannot end up saying that, okay, these two countries have the same GDP because they are producing the same number of units of good, because we don't know the value of orange or the apple. So to make this comparison more clear, GDP is actually using the market value of each good is produced to calculate the income level for each country. Because market prices measure the amount of people are willing to pay for different goods, they reflect the value of those goods. For example, if the price of an apple is twice the price of an orange, then an apple contributes twice as much to GDP as does an orange. And GDP is the market value of all final goods and services. As you see here, final is now highlighted. But first, let's make a definition for final goods. Final goods are the goods intended for the end user, and intermediate goods are used as components or ingredients in the production of other goods. For example, you go buy a milk from the market. It's a final good for you because you are going to consume the milk. But if Starbucks buy milk to produce latte, it's not the final good, it's an intermediate good because you use the milk to produce latte. So in that case, Starbucks' purchase of milk is not counted as in the GDP because it's not the final good. And the milk that you buy from the market is going to be counted in the calculation of GDP. So from that perspective, you may ask, why we don't count intermediate goods in the calculation of GDP is because of preventing double counting. If I calculate milk as a final good when the Starbucks purchasing from the market, then the value of the milk is going to be reflected in the price of latte, so you actually double count the milk price. For that reason, GDP only includes final goods, and they already embody the value of the intermediate goods used in their production. Next, GDP is the market value of all final goods and services. So GDP is not looking at only tangible goods like DVDs, mountain bikes, beer, but also intangible services, dry cleaning, concerts, cell phones. So when you buy a CD by your favorite band, you are buying a good and the purchase price is part of GDP. When you pay to hear a concert by the same band, you are buying a service and the ticket price is also part of GDP. Okay? And GDP is the market value of all final goods and services produced within a country in a given period of time. So GDP includes goods and services currently produced. It does not include transactions involving items produced in the past. When Ford produces and sells a new car, the value of the car is included in GDP. When one person sells a used car to another person, the value of the used car is not included in GDP. So anything that's used are not going to be counted in the GDP calculation. Next, GDP is the market value of all final goods and services produced within a country in a given period of time. GDP measures the value of production within the geographic confines of a country. When a Canadian citizen works temporarily in the United States, her production is part of US GDP, not the Canadian GDP. Or on the other hand, when an American citizen owns a factory in Haiti, the production at her factory is not part of US GDP. So you don't look at the nationality of the company or the nationality of the person who's working for, but you look at the geographic definition of the country. If a good is produced inside the country, it is calculated in GDP, but if it's not produced inside the country, it's not included in GDP measurement. And the last one, gross domestic product is the market value of all final goods and services produced within a country in a given period of time, usually a year or a quarter, 3 months. GDP measures the value of production that takes place within a specific interval of time, usually that interval is a year or a quarter, and GDP measures the economy's flow of income as well as its flow of expenditure during that time.